as Emma would say from A Cup of Books. That's what popped into my head, but you're on Margaret's channel, so welcome. You're on BookTube. And today, Tag Tuesday, I'm going to be doing the Omnivore book tag, which is a evergreen sort of tag. You can do it if you've done it before, and it's never out of season, is it? So, basically, this is to ask people about different types of books that they read, if they read widely, rather than only in one genre. And it was originated by it was originated by Emma of A Cup of Books. How perfect! And I was tagged by Bethanne Bruninga-Socolar. Those are both great channels to watch, not only because they are omnivorous, but because they give great reviews that I am pretty aligned with. So, let's start. There's just 3 questions, and you do them for 4 different genres. So, the genres I picked to highlight that I read are historical fiction, big surprise, nonfiction, romance, and fantasy. So, we'll see about these. The first question is, what is your favorite book? The second question is your current read in this genre. And the third question is, what's next on your list for this genre? So, am I reading one out of each of these right now? Not exactly, but I'll give you the closest. So, for historical fiction, favorite read, I recently promoted Messenger of Truth from the mystery section up to the favorite section because Maisie Dobbs is very good, but Messenger of Truth is the 3rd or the 4th, and I actually liked it better, so that's been promoted. This is a weird, big version, but historical fiction, it is a woman detective in the interwar period who has started her own agency. She's got a psychological lens, which is unique for the period, and she's got a range of class backgrounds because of her poor background, but then where she went to school and how she was sort of mentored by people who were upper class. And so she's got this range of resources and experience to pull from, which makes her responses very interesting. So I really love Maisie Dobbs. Favorite historical fiction for the sake of this tag. Current read historical fiction, Those Who Save Us, which I started in April, which is by the lovely Jenna Blum, who is the leader of, oh look what I'm wearing, A Mighty Blaze! Such a bunch of coincidences, this recording. It's so funny. And this is a World War II era novel, and it started off really, really spicy, really juicy. So I'm loving what I'm discovering about her writer voice now that I know her pretty well. So that's really fun. There we go, the current read. And next read, sometime later on this month, because it's on my May TBR for the Asian readathon, is Pachinko by Jin Lee. And this is a Korean story during the early 1900s, I think through to the wars, talking about Japanese imperialism and women's lives during that period. So I think I will like this. It's slow-paced, historical. We'll see. So that's the first genre. Woo! Second genre is nonfiction. What is my favorite in nonfiction? Well, my go-to response, I have 2, is The Old Ways by Robert MacFarlane, and he wrote The Underland, and I liked that one a lot, but this one even more because it's talking about walking as a path to discovering history, which, I mean, can you get more me? Rebecca Solnit's book, Wanderlust, might be a little more me. I don't know. They're sort of like equidistant from me. If you're judging in like croquet or lawn bowling or whatever, or curling, you might have some difficulty. But this is the one I have to hand because my copy of Wanderlust walked off, never to return. So, The Old Ways by Robert MacFarlane, and nonfiction other favorite is going to be Without Reservations by Ellis Steinbach. Ellis Steinbach is someone who lived near Baltimore, Maryland when I was living in DC, and I didn't know it, but she passed away recently, so I was pretty sad about that. This is travel writing, but a very woman's discovery of herself through travel and sort of changing her focus of her life, re-evaluating what she valued. So I love that type of writing. She does a really great job. She has a journalism background, And yeah, so I'd really recommend like reading up her backlist. Yes. So that's nonfiction. Current read. I find myself reading this nonfiction currently, which is Botany in a Day. I found this at Backstory, I believe. Yes. And it's been great. It's basically trying to train yourself how to read nature around you. And so it basically tells you a few basic vocabulary words. Can I say basic again? And then it goes through lots of families of plants and tells you how to recognize patterns for families. Like these all have this kind of leaf, or these all have this many petals and sepals or whatever, and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm trying to get more familiar with what is around me. And this is, let's see, Thomas J. Elpel's Herbal Field Guide to Plant Families of North America. So hopefully this is like accurate for the area he's writing, and he intersperses it with here in Montana. So I know he's in Montana, but that's not too far away from Oregon. So he occasionally peppers his descriptions with regional call-outs too. So this is very helpful. And again, after the apocalypse, I want to be valuable knowledge-wise, and this is going to help. All right, and the next read for nonfiction is going to be Food Focus, Food of a Younger Land by Mark Kurlansky. Sorry, it's covered up by a sticker. This I'm going to be buddy reading with Rosie in June, I believe, at the end of the month. And that's as far as we've gotten planning so far. But as you can tell, this is the original color of the cover, and it's been on the shelf facing this way for a while, so it's totally bleached out, which is really a shame. Yeah, it's supposed to be orange. Sorry, book. So anyway, I'm finally going to get to it with Rosie's help, Rosie Cockshut, and it's great. This is a nonfiction about what you can learn about the food culture of the 1930s and before, because this is when the WPA released writers to catalog what people did for food storage and cultivation and recipes and remedies, sort of like folklore stuff, and paid writers to do it because they didn't have any other jobs because no one was hiring during the Depression. So there, that was fascinating. That fascinated me. It hooked me, and then it just sat on my shelf. So hopefully we'll get to that. So that's nonfiction. The next genre is romance. I'm not doing so well with this. The romance is definitely more of a mood read, so it's hard to judge what I'm going to pick up next. But a favorite, the one that I can always reread, is Sunshine by Robin McKinley. What can I say about this? It's about a misfit baker in a small town who's got a troubled history, and turns out there's magic afoot. And she ends up getting mixed up in a little vampire territorial war, and it's amazing. So, romance, fantasy romance, but like written like a romance. So, really good storytelling. Loved it. Romance current read. Is it a current read? Well, it's the closest I have. So, I'm not currently reading a romance, but soon we'll be reading Recipe for Persuasion, which I know is a romance because look at that cover. It's telling me it wants to be a romance. Sometimes it's hard to tell if romance is the main thrust, if you will, of the plot by the cover. So this one I'm sure is a sure thing. I'm reading this for Asian Reads as well. So yeah, I don't know what it's about yet because it's soon to be read. And then next after that is a book I just picked up when I went to the coast. I needed to get out of the apartment, and I thought I'll just go to the coast. It'll be nice and fresh, and I'll be able to smell the sea, and I'll stop in at Beach Books or Lucy's Books and buy a book from each to just support the local independent bookstores.
Oh no, oh no, oh no, 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 no.
Any guesses of how many I came back with? This is called The Bookshop of Second Chances by Jackie Fraser, and it is one of 9 that I brought back from 2 bookstores. So, but it's a romance with a bookstore on the cover. I put down probably like 10 other books, so I definitely like filtered, but I got 2 from Lucy's and 7 from Beach Books because their store is gorgeous. They're in Seaside, Oregon, and if you're anywhere nearby, you should definitely go down to check them out because it's a beautiful little town. There's there's lots of fun stuff. Fantasy. The final genre is fantasy, and I don't have any of the books because I'm going to have to put them all here. So, favorite fantasy, I'm going to say one from when I was a kid, which is The Dragon Prince by Melanie Rawn. She was an amazing fantasy writer in the 90s. Dragon Prince is one of a 6-book series, and I read the first and the second, and I think I got partway through the third. They're like, really thick 90s science fiction fantasy tomes. And the next 3, I don't think I ever got. But anyway, romance, dragons, politics, and the coolest thing ever in fantasy, which is that Farazir are people who can speak on light, and so they weave light to like speak long distances. And I can't tell you how many times I imagined myself doing that as a kid. So Dragon Prince is a favorite fantasy. Current read fantasy, actually I'm listening currently to an audiobook from Libro.fm, the finest purveyor of audiobooks available, called Native Tongue, and it's by, I'll put that here in a title card. It's very interesting. It's billed as a feminist sort of dystopian novel. It's like 22 something AD, and the patriarchy is in control, and there are people called linguists, and they can talk to aliens, and they're sort of like this elite that leeches off the rest of society, but has a very patriarchal structure, like a cult. I don't know. I still have like 9 hours left of this, and I feel like I've gotten in like 5 or 6. It's pretty complex, and I don't think this is the best one to listen to because they have a thing at the beginning of each chapter that is like a pretend text from like a foundational text in their world. It's such a specific register. It's not just absorbing a story. It's like having to key into something. So I don't know. I'm gonna keep going with it and see if like the story takes over. But yes, Native Tongue is current read, and the next read for fantasy is, I'm not sure. This is again sort of a moody choice, but it might be Spinning Silver because I have this on audio, and that might be more of a fantasy tale like to read on walks or whatever. What I wish I really had, this has nothing to do with the Omnivore book tag. What I wish I really had was a way to play audiobooks in my car that pumped it up loud enough so that it was louder than road noise, because when I go on a long car trip, it would be a perfect time to listen. But I end up leaning forward and doing this to try to hear, because the app is on the phone, right? And I can put the phone to the, not wireless, headless, cordless, hands-free system. But it's not loud enough. It's on like the little remote control thing. It's still not loud enough because I have a plastic car, and so all the road noise filters in. And I can't connect it to the sound system. If I could, then it would be loud enough. Anyone got any ideas about how to connect a phone app to a sound system without any more hardware? That would be awesome. So anyway, that's the fantasy next pick, Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. And that is my Omnivore book tag. So hopefully, if you like any of those genres, those are good recommendations. Or if you disagree, definitely tell me about that. I hope we don't disagree on favorites because these are close to my heart. That's okay. And I'm going to tag Heidi's Bookish Adventures, Courtney Ferreter, A Star Reads, and Book Whimsy. And I'll put all your channels down below, and hopefully I definitely tried to concentrate on people who I know read a range of different style books, so this could be pretty exciting. But I hope you enjoy this version, and I hope I get to see your versions before too long. So thanks very much for watching this tag for Tag Tuesday, and have a good rest of the week.